Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here at Star Cottage Studio in the bead room. We've been super busy this week. I feel like that we're gonna start sounding like a broken record. Um, where I'm saying we're busy. But it's true. So this last week, I was at Touchstone Center for Crafts in Farmington, Pennsylvania, and I was there to take a workshop with the amazing Tanya Crane. And then shortly following that, I was in a workshop with Tanya Crane again at Contemporary Craft in Pittsburgh. So it was really lovely to spend time with her and learn more about her and her process. Um, I have to admit that I had a little bit of a fangirl moment, a couple of them. But yeah, so it was a really wonderful time. And it was nice to be able to kind of go off the grid a little bit and just make things. A lot of times I have to kind of squeeze my making time in between other things. So, it's not always, I don't always have the luxury to kind of just sit down and create for extended periods of time. So it was really nice to be able to do that. I see a couple people have tuned in. Hey, Suzanne. June is watching. Hey, June. Norma's watching. Hey, Norma. Marianne's watching. Hi, how are you? And Susie's watching. Hey, Susie. And Sandra's watching. So this is going to be a super quick one because I'm actually double booked for meetings this evening and I have to prepare for them. And of course, I left my notes at home, so where I'm just going to have to wing some of them, which I kind of feel bad about. But um, yeah, it is what it is. So this is going to be a super quick one because we're super busy and we're kind of in the crunch phase of getting things ready for the new building and finalizing that. It's a little bit stressful. I'll be honest and say that it's a little bit stressful dealing with that. But I kind of feel like sometimes things are challenging. They're challenging, and then they kind of, once it's done, you don't even think about it anymore. So yeah. So what else? I started organizing the back for kind of a new backdrop, but as you can see, I did not finish. I don't know if I'm in love with this rainbow color scheme that I started, but we'll see. It might grow on me. Um, I don't know. We'll see. I have a lot of beads that I kind of have to reorganize. Um, Basically what happened is this past week I've been gone, and then the week before that we were in North Carolina, and then the week before that we had company. So everything is a little bit in shambles, and I'm kind of having to collect everything and organize everything and get everything kind of ready to go, which is fine, but it takes time. And that seems like one of the things that we're in short supply of lately. So yeah, hopefully everything is going well for all of you out there. Um, I know that this is kind of not the best Tuesday tutorial because I'm not really doing a tutorial today. I'm just kind of checking in and saying hello. Um, we've got a GBE meeting tonight amongst the presenters, so hopefully that will be able to flesh out some details on certain things. And I always get a lot out of those meetings because it's such a wonderful group of like-minded individuals, and there's a lot of camaraderie. And I don't know about y'all, but the past couple years have kind of felt like running in place, you know? It's like so much effort to just barely kind of break even in a lot of ways. Used to, it felt like if you work this hard, you kind of made like major gains. But now it just kind of feels like you're just running and running and running, and hopefully things will even out. Which is kind of exhausting. You know, I'll be honest. It's really hard to keep everything going sometimes, but you know, we're doing our best. Um, so yeah. So how are all of you out there? Are you having a good start to your week so far? I want to say that we have the great bead trade coming up. That should be August 26th. So make sure to mark your calendars for that. I think it'll be a really fun time. Also, we have uh, some news that I got today was I had won educational endowment scholarship through SNAG, which is the Society of North American Goldsmiths. And it was for taking a workshop with Harlan Butt, who is an amazing ceramicist, or not ceramicist, an enamelist who specializes in cloisonne. Unfortunately, some of the water pumps are out at Touchstone, so it's hard to have like food services and, you know, working bathrooms and things like that. And so they are working very hard on getting all of that fixed. But unfortunately, some of the parts, they had to special order those parts. So unfortunately, my class got canceled. They're going to reschedule for next year. So I don't know if I'm going to take another workshop in the meantime, like after this. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but you know, it is what it is. You can't force things to work when they don't want to work. And because it's such a specialized thing, it's not like they like you can run down to the hardware store and pick stuff up. It's something that you have to kind of special order. So unfortunately, that means that my class has been canceled. However, I haven't talked to William about this, which we need to talk about it pretty soon if we're going to decide this. But that means that now I can go to Lancaster for Bead Fest. So we'll see how this goes. And yeah, so there's that. I see a couple new comments. Susan says, hello, popping in. Marion says, definitely feel that. I am just marking time since last October. Donna says, hello, Andrew and everyone. I canned 6 more pints of fig preserves yesterday. Oh, that sounds nice. Susan says, a little bit relieved. We now have hot water after 2 weeks of cold only, and flash floods didn't materialize overnight. So that's good. Teresa is joining in, and Harry's watching. Hi, Harry. So yeah, so I'm, you know, there, it's kind of a weird thing because sometimes I kind of feel like the universe has its own sort of plan. And we kind of just have to roll with it sometimes. Um, but that does open up some other possibilities. And that's kind of vague, but I can't really talk about some of this stuff just because we have a lot of things that we're working on, and some of those may not come to fruition, and I don't want to disappoint people. But yeah, so that means that possibly we'll have more time at Bead Fest in Lancaster. And we had been talking about going to Ava's show, the whole bead show that's happening in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philadelphia, and it's kind of a part of that greater Philadelphia area. It's where Beadfest used to be. It's the end of this week. Greg is going to be there for Green Girl Studios. And so we might pop in over. The kind of hiccup in that plan is that we spent a little too much money at the last show that we just went to in North Carolina, and really haven't had a chance to recoup money since I've been gone. So we'll see how we can generate funds quickly. And then also we have to generate funds quickly for some of the developments that are happening at the new building, which is slightly frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. And, you know, I don't know. It's life, I guess. So yeah, so we've been busy kind of managing all these different things happening. Tonight we also have a meeting with the Acre Partners. So that's gonna do that also plays into the new building in Johnstown. So it's a little bit hectic, but especially since we were supposed to close on the building yesterday, but that had to get pushed back. So that, you know, that is, it is, I keep saying it is what it is. They said that those kind of sayings are thought terminating cliches. And it's kind of like when you say those things, then you can move on to a new topic kind of thing. And I kind of think that's good, kind of bad. I don't know. So yeah. Teresa says hello. Hi, Teresa. So if you didn't get a chance to see the past videos, William has been working really hard on adding stuff to both the online store and the brick and mortar. So the whole team has been working super hard on refreshing the space. One of the good things about me not going to the cloisonne workshop with Harlan is that I'll have a little bit of wiggle room to help clean out the back room at the physical location and expand it a little bit. So what we're doing is we're moving since we move fulfillment over to the cottage, we're clearing out that kind of back area space and then going to push that false wall or half wall or whatever you want to call it. We're going to push that back or to the side. And yeah, so we'll still have some space back there, but it'll be kind of different. And we kind of have to figure out the logistics of that because it's almost like playing Tetris when you're moving these large components in a relatively small room. So we've been kind of pushing that back because we haven't had time to do that. But hopefully, since I'll have a little bit more extra time this week or the next week coming up, we'll be able to do that. I see Helen's watching. Hi, Helen. Marianne says, but cliches are truisms as well. Yeah. Helen says, back from a week at Cub Scout camp, latrines with 9 and 10-year-olds. That must be interesting. I have to admit that Touchstone, I stayed in the dorms, so things were pretty nice, but some of the accommodations are a little bit rough and ready. And so some of my classmates look a little bit thunderstruck in the mornings. But because we had some pretty severe weather come through. And so some of them, you know, didn't sleep very well. And so that was less than delightful for them. But so anyways, I can commiserate with that. Anyways, let me flip the camera around. I've been talking about 15 minutes or so, just rambling on about what we're doing and how busy we are. And you're all probably like, well, land the plane, Andrew, land the plane. So you're going to see the ceiling for a second. I am excited because my family is going to be coming up um, probably after the Lancaster show. So we'll be hanging out and making things again, which I always enjoy. And maybe doing some different tutorials throughout the time. We generally have lots of big plans and only manage to get a fraction of that list complete. But when we do, it's kind of nice, we get some things done. And it's kind of like if you have a whole list, then, great big list, and then you only get some things done, you still have got a lot of things done. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I've been working on. These are the ones that I made at Contemporary Craft. They are things that I need to practice because it is a new skill for me. I've done, I got a degree in painting, but this is a little bit different in the sense that the properties of the enamel paints and the oils that you use with it are very specific, and not all the colors always turn out the way you think they will. And getting the temperatures and timing just right, it just takes a little bit of time to kind of perfect that, I guess. So here's one of the first pieces I made at the Contemporary Craft class. One of the hard things was that I had to prep all the surfaces before I started. And I had this high ambition that I was going to do that on Friday night when I got back from Touchstone. However, that did not pan out the way I thought it would. So what ended up happening was I came home, I took a shower with the good pressure and the good hot water, and put my pajamas on, and we watched some TV and ordered food in, and I promptly passed out. So I did not get a chance to prep my pieces beforehand. So most of the first day was prepping the surfaces for the enamel pieces. And also Tanya went over the lessons, which was great for me because um, I had spent time with her beforehand at Touchstone, and we kind of went through that already. But it's always nice to get a refresher, especially like a week later. So it kind of bakes in those ideas. So I started this one on Saturday and fired that on Sunday morning. The next one I did, and this is a fly agaric, which is a Amanita musk. So there's that, and then I wanted to do a St. John's wort, but again, this comes into where the idea is there, but sometimes the execution's not completely there yet. So I tried to get that, but it's not quite a St. John's wort. I need to practice on the stamens, I think, to get them to look right. I tried. I'm getting there. I can see where it's getting there. I also was playing around with introducing mica and opalescence to these. So this one, I kind of played around with adding some of that, and it came out okay, but not completely the way I thought. And then this one is a trout lily. Again, I need to make samples, and I know that I need to make samples to better understand how the colors are going to react with one another. When I painted this was a lot more vibrant. And then after the subsequent firings, some of the colors must have burnt out or kind of lost their their saturation. Like these stamen here were a little bit more of a burnt orangey brown. And then when they got fired, they turned more of a greenish, brownish gray. So, and then also some of the browns didn't quite turn out the way I thought. So, it is what it is. And it's a learning process. And again, I think sometimes when you take these classes, it's a challenge because you kind of have to know what you're going to do or just have fun experimenting. So I kind of go with have fun experimenting and learning the processes and getting the materials down. So I'm not really interested in making a masterpiece necessarily. It's mostly so that I can learn the process and understand the process. And if I end up making something good, well, that's great. But if I make things that kind of miss the mark or not quite fully realized, I'm not terribly disappointed with that. But I also know that I'm a very harsh self critic, so I it's so funny because for other people, I'm like, you did great. You did awesome. I'm so proud of you. And then for myself, I'm like, this looks like garbage. This looks like trash. So, yeah. So I need to learn how to extend the same enthusiasm and encouragement that I give to others to myself. So, not only were we learning about enameling techniques, but I feel like I was also doing some inner work on myself throughout this process and communing with nature and getting in touch with some of those things. For instance, with the fierce independence that I have, it's a coping mechanism that's a trauma response. So when people don't rely on help from others, and they feel like they have to do it themselves and do it all by themselves, um, because they'll either let somebody down or somebody will let them down, or they don't want to inconvenience others or whatever it is. There's lots of reasons why people do that, but it's a trauma response. And so part of what I've been doing the past couple years is examining my behavioral patterns and seeing where there are things that I could change and hopefully for the better. So, part of that change begins with identifying those things that could use improvement and then working on them. So, yeah, asking for help is a big one that I'm working on, but also there are other things like being kind to myself, which seems like self-evident, but I feel like that's not always the case. So often we get caught up in these narratives that we've been telling ourselves for years and years and years, and it's hard to break away from that pattern where simple things like being kind to yourself, completely common sense, but not always, that doesn't always happen. So I'm working on things, and that's something that I've been thinking about while I've been making these pieces. I also, these ones take a long time because there's at least 5 or 6 firings. So there's layering and layering and layering. Um, and so I had to experiment with that, and they do take, I haven't perfected that yet. So each one of these takes a couple hours to make. Um, well, maybe like an hour and a half because I did them fairly quickly, but still not a super fast process. So, yeah. So people were like, "I want these for sale. When are you going to sell these? I want these." And I kind of am hesitant to part with these, for one, because they're class samples, and number two, because if I was getting paid for my time and for the materials and class and stuff, because it's such a new process and I'm still learning. These would be they would be too expensive, really. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be too expensive. Depends on who's buying them, really. But you know, they wouldn't be inexpensive, because they did take a long time. So I just have to keep practicing to get quicker at making them. And once I get quicker, then I feel like I would be better in a better position to part with them, just because that way they're a little bit more affordable and not cost prohibitive. So yeah. So let me see. I see a couple of comments. Susan says, I can't sleep during severe weather, so I sympathize with them. Donna says, yay, that will be fun. Marianne says, really like the red ones. Teresa says, love the mushroom. Donna says, love the mushroom. Marianne says, muscari. So it's Amanita muscari. Helen says, beautiful, love the mushroom. Donna says, the St. John's wort looks dimensional. Thank you. It's actually, if you, it's completely, almost completely smooth, but thanks. Diane says, hello. William says, that's why you should listen to me. Zuzana says, all of them are gorgeous. Thank you. Susan says, I think you did a tremendous job with these enameled pendants. And Jacqueline says, love them. So this is a different technique. This is a sgraffito technique. And I use red as opposed to the black that we had been using, I had been using earlier in the week. And this is a bee balm, or Monarda, if you can tell. And I think if I would go back in these and add a little bit of the shading, because I like this scratched away look, but I also kind of like the dimensionality that I was getting with some of my other pieces that I worked on. So I think I need to do that. This one, I think I burnt a little bit, overly cooked, or maybe I smudged it with something, but there's a dark spot here and there's a dark spot there, and it kind of, some of the enamel has kind of broken up. So I need, if I go back, I'll fix, I can fix this by going back over and adding a little bit more depth to these. But I kind of like that they have this like woodcut feel, if you know what I mean. So I'm gonna play around with this. I had some extra of the red that I made, so and I had some extra of the blanks that I prepped beforehand. So I'm gonna do that maybe tonight after the meetings, if I'm lucky. So, and I dropped this one, so I just realized that it was chipped. So that's not great. But the nice thing is that enamels are somewhat forgiving in that you can put them back in the kiln and they can kind of heal themselves sometimes. So yeah, I was walking around with these on a very slick tile, and they all kind of fell off the tile. And I was worried that they would bust off, and I didn't even notice this crack until today, just now. So, yeah, so I'll put that back in the kiln, and hopefully that will heal itself. Diane says they are all nice, but I really like the red flower. Cynthia says they are really pretty. Thank you. Teresa says, love the red ones. Nice work, Andrew. If you want to see the old ones, I showed them on Friday's video, I think, last week. So two of the lives ago. Um, yeah, so if you're interested in seeing those, check that video out. Or you can go to my Instagram. That's Andrew T. Thornton 100, and that's Thornton. Sometimes people forget the N in there. And so they're like, you didn't come up. And I was like, well, you forgot the N. So sometimes that helps. So I posted all of those on my Instagram, and I'm thinking about different ways that I can up my photo game. So I've been Cynthia had a great technique that she does for some of the shiny stuff, where she takes a little bit of beeswax and carries that in her pocket, and it helps make a slightly matte surface, a wax surface on the shiny. And I think I need that because some of these pieces are super, super duper shiny because it's glass. And when you photograph them, it can create these really bright white spots, and it obscures the imagery underneath. So that's not super great, especially if you're trying to show off some of the details. So I think that I'm gonna try that out and see how that works with the enamel pieces. Um, when I was on TV on PBS, they had this spray that they would spray on different reflective surfaces in the background, and that would help take some of the shine off of them and make them less reflective. So I didn't know if there was like a spray like that for jewelry pieces, but I also I don't know if that will like ruin, I don't want to like put a matte spray paint on my pieces. Um, so we'll see. So these are the pieces that I made in Tanya Crane's class at Contemporary Craft. And I'm going to try to experiment more. I kind of have this idea of making these useful kind of pendants where they have like the different plants on them, and then maybe on the backs that will have their kind of healing properties. So I kind of think that might be neat, almost like a compendium of herbal remedies that you can wear. But we'll see. I kind of have been thinking about lots of different ideas, and there's only so much time. I do have a show that I'm trying to get into that I have to prepare for, and I have not done what I need to do. And so I was trying to save up money for some extra material because copper has kind of gone up in price. So it's kind of waiting to see if it would go back down. So we'll see. I'm going to be working frantically to get that done for the deadlines in September. So we'll see how much I get done. All right. So that's what some of the things that I did this weekend. Um, but I've already shown the pieces that I did last week, so I'm not going to show those again. And yeah, I have a meeting that is coming up. Courtney, she was in class with me, and it was super fun to spend time with her. We got to talking, and hopefully she'll come over and we'll do some enameling. I'll fire up the kiln and we'll make some stuff. So that'll be fun. June says, very nice work, Andrew. Learning new techniques is always fun. Happy you enjoyed the journey. Thanks. Yeah, so it's enjoyable, but it is one of those things that is a very cerebral thing for me. And I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but like I kind of go into this kind of almost a meditative space where I'm trying to soak up information. And it, if you are used to me being a certain way, it's a little bit different than that, because like I feel like sometimes when I meet people at shows or whatever, there's so much energy at a show, and I feel so much. It's almost like the difference between being caffeinated and non-caffeinated. And so sometimes when I am kind of in this deep meditative space, it's a little bit different. Anyways, so I am going to go and gather some stuff up for the meetings that I'm got going on directly after this. And I'm sorry that this is such a short one and that we really didn't get a technique down. Maybe if my meetings don't last too long, maybe I'll pop on later tonight and do another little tutorial video. We'll see what happens. There's been some storms here, so I've been kind of a little bit headachy. So that's also another thing. But yeah, so hopefully I will get some new red ones done with the extra that I had left over. And yeah, so I will leave you with that. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.